William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Backup Plan, a novel by Jill Shalvis, performed by Arndt. Dedicated to the bean and the spicy peanut. Having a 1- and 2-year-old in the house during the writing of this book was complete chaos, but also the most wonderful, amazing time of my life. Love you both to the moon and back. Chapter 1. Alice's to-do list. Buy potato chips, the family-size bag. If anyone eats them, act appropriately grief-stricken at their funeral. After 2 days of driving, Alice Moore needed to make a pit stop to stretch her legs, but ended up in a drive-thru instead. Hey, it wasn't her fault that exercise and extra fries sounded alike. She'd just finished licking the salt off her fingers when she realized she was nearly at her destination. She was either experiencing heart palpitations or her tummy had regrets about supersizing her order. Probably it was both. What was it people said about the past? Don't look back? Well, she'd tried not to, valiantly. But as she drove along the north shore of Lake Tahoe, surrounded by 360 degrees of sharp, majestic, still snow-covered peaks, she felt her past settling over her as heavily as the storm swirling overhead. It had been 4 years since she'd been in Sunrise Cove, the small mountain town where she'd been born and bred. She'd spent most of her adolescence at her dad's work, the Last Chance Inn, nestled in the hills above the lake. But that had been a long time ago. She'd been braver back then, full of hope. These days, she was more of a slap-an-out-of-order sticker on her forehead sort of person. She'd been driving for 2 days, blasting old 1980s rock so she wouldn't think too much. But the closer to Lake Tahoe she got, the more her heart began to pound in her ears. Or maybe it was just the squealing of the clutch in Stella, her 1972 Chevy Blazer, proving that she needed a throwout bearing replacement even more than she needed gas. Turning off Lake Drive, she headed up Last Chance Road. At the end of the street, the ostentatious gate in front of her was wide open. She drove along the muddy and still snow-patched land, surrounded by thick groves of towering pines that made the place smell like perpetual Christmas. The old Wild West Last Chance Inn had been standing tall and proud since 1885, complete with a wraparound porch and wooden signs above the windows labeled saloon, jail, graveyard, etc., all making her feel like she'd just stepped back in time. She knew every nook and cranny of the place like the back of her hand. She'd learned to drive here, and was proud to say she'd only hit the mailbox 3 times. She'd ridden her bike here, and had helped her dad fix up anything with an engine. Convinced she could fly, she'd climbed the trees and jumped from the high branches. It had taken a broken ankle at age 10 to figure out that maybe she wasn't meant to be airborne. She parked in front of the inn, but her gaze went to the barn, 100 yards to the south. Beyond that was a creek where inn guests had once panned for gold, but it was the barn that had always called to Alice. Along with her car-racing older brother and dad, she'd lost hours and weeks and months working on the inn's incredible collection of antique and old muscle cars. If there was a heaven, it looked just like the inside of that barn, at least in Alice's mind. With a sigh, she stared out her windshield at what had once been the very best part of her childhood. Not the buildings, but the searingly intense woman who lived in them. Eleanor Graham had been a lot of things to Alice: pseudo-grandmother, teacher, enforcer. Her recent death had blown Alice's heart into little bits, leaving her feeling a whole bunch like the inn in front of her, badly in need of fixing. And now she, a woman who owned little but the big fat chip on her shoulder, also owned 1/3 of the Last Chance Inn and all its surrounding property. Boggling and terrifying.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?